the alternative models of market behavior for portfolio construction. So in total there are about 4 models. In total there are 4 models by behavioral finance which have come forward. The first one is behavioral approach to consumption and savings. It's behavioral approach to consumption and savings. Now this model has come as an alternative to traditional life cycle model, which basically says that individuals usually have an optimal short-term and long-term consumption plan. So the rational, or in other words, rational individuals, they usually have an optimal short-term and long-term consumption plan. So they know how to and how much amount to be spent on short-term consumption, short-term expenditures, and how much amount is to be saved for long-term. So that's what traditional life cycle model says. But what does behavioral theory says? So it's basically a behavioral life cycle theory which has come as an alternative to traditional life cycle model. Now it says that there are 3 biases which prevail. One is self-control bias, one is mental accounting bias, the third one is framing bias. So in traditional life cycle, we believe that people have that self-control that okay, I have to spend this much only, I have to spend this much in my world tour and this much in my long-term savings. So if I, after all my expenses, daily expenses, regular expenses, monthly expenses, this much is saved, this much is left. So out of this, maybe 80% I'll probably go for, that amount will go for my long-term savings, and only 20% would be used for maybe my work tour or maybe my other recreation activities. So I know how much to save and how much to spend. So I have that self-control. But in behavioral life cycle theory, the individuals don't have self-control. They don't have self-control basically. So they have this self-control bias that they don't know, or maybe they don't have that self-control that I have to spend this much and save this much. Here, savings usually come as a last priority. They are more focused on short-term consumptions or short-term expenses, or maybe short-term satisfactions, you say, and the savings come as a last priority. So that's self-control bias. They should do otherwise. They should actually give very high priority to savings as well, because that's good for their long-term future. But they don't do that. They are more interested in short-term savings. Unknowingly, you can say, or knowingly, they are ultimately interested in their short-term satisfaction, short-term consumption. So that's self-control bias. Now, what is mental accounting bias? Mental accounting bias is that we classify our expenses as per its urgency, as per its priority, and we put some amount in that, allocate some amount to the expenses, and then we say, okay, this amount is for this expense. For example, we have to pay rent, we have to pay school fees, we have to buy a mobile, and we have to pay for petrol. So I make some allocation, I make some priority. The first priority is school fees, then rent, then petrol, then mobile. And now I allocate some amount to mobile, some amount to rent, some amount to school fees, some amount to petrol. Now I think like that these amounts are different, and these because the expenses are different, so these amounts are allocated to different expenses, and so these amounts are different. So I can't really exchange. I can't really. I would think twice when before exchanging some amount to some other expense. If I have my school fees, paying school fees gets postponed for maybe 2 months, so I can probably, I have some lack of money in my mobile purchase. I probably don't. I think twice before taking the school fees money and use it for mobile, because I have mentally allocated that money to school fees. Although it doesn't matter when later on, after 1 or 2 months, when I have enough money, I can pay that school fees. But in any case, school fees has to be paid after 2 months, so I can pay that money later. But no, because I have allocated that money to school fees, I'll think twice before allocating it to some other expense class, maybe the lower expense class, low priority expense class. I'll think twice, definitely. So that's like mental accounting bias. But in reality, money is fungible, interchangeable. I can use that money for mobile, and later on, the other money I can use for school fees. I can do that because money is interchangeable, money is fungible, but I don't do that. That's mental accounting bias. Now, what is framing bias? Framing bias is my reaction to certain situation changes as per the situation, even if the situation or the question or the setup is same. So, for example, if I ask you, have you learned all the CFA questions? You would probably say, yes, I have learned. Now, your reaction would be like that. If I say that I don't think you have learned all the CFA questions, you probably think that why I'm saying that. So your reaction will probably change slightly, or almost slightly it will change, right? Because, and if I say the third situation, I'm very sure you have not learned, I know that you have not learned all the CFA questions, then you will think two times that why is he saying that, right? Definitely, if you know that I know your background and all, definitely, then only. Otherwise, if somebody, but definitely, you only believe somebody, maybe your teacher, if he says that, assuming me as your teacher. So if I say that I know that you haven't learned all the CFA questions, then probably you think two times, why am I saying that? So now probably your confidence gets shaken. So whatever may be the reason, but same question, same situation, but your response to a situation changes. In a way, the question is presented. In a way, the situation is presented. That's framing bias. Now, this mental accounting bias basically tells us to basically divide our source of income in three accounts. And now, this mental accounting bias, or maybe this situation, this classification of my source of income also maybe indirectly occurs due to my self-control bias as well. And definitely mental accounting bias also plays a role here, major role. So now I divide my source of income in three accounts. One is current income, that's my current income. One is currently owned assets. The third one is present value of future income. Now what's current income? Current income is that portion of my source of income, that portion of my income which I say is for my current consumption. So current income is for my current consumption. Currently owned assets is other asset which I own currently, and that probably comes as a second priority if it has to be used for my current consumption. So first, if I have a lot of current consumption, consumptions to be and a lot of expenses to be done, I'll use my current income first. And if I can't, don't have self-control and I have to expense more, I have to do more short-term consumption, I have probably go for currently owned assets. So maybe some portion of currently owned assets. So and then in the end, if I'm totally, I've totally lost it, then probably the expected future income I will expend. Now there are certain assets like house, old house, or maybe pension account, which are not really that liquid, not really that, or maybe the pension bonds, whose maturity is probably very far, again not very liquid. So I probably won't be able to spend for my current consumption. So again, that also matters, that what is the liquidity, what is the maturity of my currently owned assets. So now that's how I classify my expenses. One more thing here, that some people just do this, that if I have house, I probably take a loan on a house for my current consumption. So they have so much current consumption, they're so much concerned about the short-term satisfaction, they probably take loans on their homes for their current consumption. That's also happens. So and definitely these kind of people, they don't really consider their home as long-term assets, long-term fixed asset. They probably consider their home as home equity. That's like a different term, but just a perspective of thinking. This perspective, that's right. So that's how it goes. So this is basically the behavioral approach to consumption and savings. This is the fact. So highlighted important points are that we have three biases: self-control bias, mental bias, framing bias in our daily life, which basically affect our optimum allocation of short-term consumption and long-term savings. Then we divide our source of income in 3 accounts mentally. One is current income, which is for current consumption. One is currently owned assets, which is our basically assets, but we can sometimes use it for current consumption as well. If we require it, we have a lot of short-term consumptions. We can probably take loans on these kind of current assets if they are not liquid and the maturity is long, or maybe we can sell it sometimes. So then we have present value of future income, which probably is the last priority when it comes to short-term consumption. So we rarely use it for short-term consumption. It's usually for future, definitely, because it's a future income. So even in our minds, we know that we have some kind of allocation that and even we don't even have, sometimes we don't even have access to it. So a lot of factors play into it. Sometimes we don't have access to it. Sometimes we can have access, that we can have loans on our future income, but we have a thinking that that probably becomes our last priority, that taking loans on future income. So, or if we have collateral like houses, we can still take a loan. Then that's part of our currently owned assets. So because that's loan on currently owned, but given it from future income. We take a loan from future income, but the collateral is currently owned assets. So it's intermingled basically. So, but in short, we can still sell, we can still mortgage our currently owned assets, but using future income, or maybe taking advances from future income, taking bonuses, maybe advances is the best word actually, taking advances of future income. That I take advance from maybe office, and cut from my salary. People really do it for their current consumption. That I'll probably take advance now and that will be deducted from my future salaries. Really do it. So that's like some examples. So that's it. Thank you.